Looking for about a year, visiting unit after unit for fun. As you visit each unit, you kind of imagine what kind of designs could come out of that particular space. I'm Douglas Wan. I'm a director of an architectural and design practice called WHDA. So I found this apartment just before Christmas of 2017, and what struck me was this view and how in the future, there are these heritage terraces that aren't likely to go anywhere in the near future, and so that view would be maintained for the years to come, and really building the space around that view. When you design for a client, you sort of design the space for them the way they live their lives. But when you design for yourself, you kind of design your life and have a back and forth between the way you think you could live in this space. So it's partly the desire to live a monastic life and still be in the city. So thinking of the small apartment as a consequence of urban space as opposed to a cabin in the woods. The small apartment can only exist because of the main street, because of its location near the city. So it's tackling the question of how do you firstly make a small space workable, but also giving that kind of dignity of monumental kind of expression, and keeping in with that mathematical rigor almost. The tricky thing about small spaces is railing against the idea of the open plan or the open space and sort of separating these spaces into zones. So we took out a couple of load-bearing walls and installed a steel beam in the space, which sort of gave me the freedom to reorganize the space proportionately. I was thinking about composition of the plan and how 2/3 could be open space, and then 1/3 could be divided into a further third of kitchen, bathroom and threshold. That threshold would hide plumbing and be a space for shoes, but also divide, and then these compartments would sort of be sheathed in a pale birch ply that would wrap around each of the zones and flow into the living space. When you glance back from the living, provide this sort of symmetry, which is kind of out of fashion these days, but the symmetry would provide a composition that could sort of give this small space a monumental aspect. In the living space, it's the simplest possible gesture of the horizontal plane, and that's oriented towards the view. And these, the kind of affordances that you create in the horizontal plane, where most of the time it could be a platform for the bed with storage under. On the occasion that I do entertain, the bed goes under, there's a free space on top. It feels easier to design these spaces for yourself as opposed to designing for clients, because then you take on that risk of threading a 700 kilogram beam through the front door and having your fingers crossed while the 10 guys shove a beam into the brick wall, shove a beam into the ceiling. The tendency in micro apartments is you tend to have a lot of gadgetry, a lot of moving parts, like the folding bed and the fold-out tables and the 6 chairs. So thinking about what if you had this simple thing that's not designed to an inch, to every inch, but can be sort of a few things at the same time.